Everybody, Dean Chris back this week in the studio, straight talk on leadership. And this week's topic, I'm going to be talking about law enforcement and some of the tough times that we've been having. But you know what? This is going to be a podcast about encouragement. This is going to be a podcast about hope. And this is going to be a podcast about support. So I want you to sit back out there. And folks, I know that most of you who listen to our podcast are in law enforcement. And this is going to be a tough week. And it's been a couple of tough weeks before now. And matter of fact, it's been a tough year. And it's been a tough year because law enforcement has really been put under a microscope, and it's been under scrutiny, and it's been under a lot of fire lately. And, in some of those cases, I understand totally what's going on. I see it. We all see the world changing right before us. But, that doesn't mean that law enforcement doesn't need encouragement, doesn't need support, and doesn't need hope. We all need those things. And I'm going to be talking about those today in the podcast, where I'm going to be talking about some voices and listening to yourself and trying to pick yourself up during this difficult time, because this is a very tough time in law enforcement. And, law enforcement community, I want to spend just the next few minutes talking to you personally about understanding, the role of a law enforcement officer is not one that's easy. It's a very difficult one. And I want to tell you right up front that we hear you. We understand some of the things that you're going through. We understand it's a very difficult time right now to be a police officer or a deputy sheriff or a marshal or an FBI agent or whatever that is. If you've got a badge on right now, it's really a tough time. And even to be honest with you, it's a tough time to be in the security industry. It's a tough time to be enforcement of any degree. It's really, really tough. Seems like our communities are not so much everywhere, but a lot of places are turning kind of a corner on us and not really believing in the message that we have or the voice that we have or, the job that we're doing. And I want to talk about that today. I want to talk about this podcast today is one of encouragement. It's one of hope, and it's one of support. And I want you to know we hear you out there. And I want you to know we recognize this is a very, very difficult time to put on the badge. This is a very difficult time to get up in the morning and actually go to work, or in the evening, or whatever shift you might work. And this is a really tough time to go out there and to work with our community. Some of them absolutely turned upside down with events that have occurred, protest. We actually have people who are being, if you will, supported by groups to go out and protest and be a voice out there to disrupt law enforcement. We got a lot of things going on out there, no doubt. This is a time where every decision that you make is under a microscope, and everything that you do, somebody's going to sit back and watch, and they're going to armchair quarterback. When you joined this job, most of you out there, now some of you might have joined this when it was video cameras and, every move was videotaped, but not all of you. And a lot of you, imagine playing a game every day. No pro athlete plays a game every day, and no pro athlete plays a game where their life is judged, and every single decision they make on and off the court is judged. And in law enforcement, that's exactly the life that you're living. And that's a tough time that you're living, literally, where every decision, everything that you do, everything that people see you do, they're going to armchair quarterback. They're going to absolutely decide, should you have done it or should you not have done it? And that's a really tough way to do your job. That's one of the most difficult ways to perform or to really do your job, is to have someone that's going to really put you under the microscope every single day. You know what? We even have politicians out there who are literally calling for protesters. We have politicians who are telling people to be more forceful in their protest. Politicians and leaders in our communities are telling people to really not support law enforcement. It's a really, really tough time. But you know what? Here at LHLN, Leaders Helping Leaders Network, we want to be a voice of encouragement to you. We want to be a voice of support, and we want to be a voice of hope for you. In reality, you are the thin blue line between society being in order or society being chaotic. You are the thread that holds together our communities. You are the thread that keeps civil society together. Without you, we could not survive as a nation. Chaos would reign. It would be ridiculous to live in a community where there were no law enforcement officers, where no one was the guardian of the communities. And in reality, you are the guardians of the community. Yes, you have to go warrior at times, and yes, you have to think about that warrior mindset. But in reality, we're the guardians of the community. That's what you do. You, and not only you, but other first responders. And you're the people that are keeping this community and our communities and our country together. So we're offering a voice of support, a voice of encouragement, and a voice of hope. Today, I was on the way home. I visited my son, Adam, and his and the little girls, and had to go down there for a few minutes. And I was on the way back, and the interstate was completely at a stop and standstill. Cars couldn't get by. Nobody could move. There was a 15-car pileup on the interstate. People were injured. Everybody was hurt. And you know what? I listened behind me, and I heard a siren, and I saw a blue light. Well, when I heard that siren and I saw that blue light, I knew there was hope. I knew that help was on the way. I knew somebody was going to provide order to chaos. And right behind them was a fire truck. And when I saw those red lights, I knew that people were going to get assistance. I knew that people were going to get help. And together, those two entities, the fire departments and EMS, or those three entities and the police officer, you know what they did? They solved the problem. They took care of a chaotic situation where everyone was, most of the people were injured. 15-car pileup on the interstate, traveling at 70 or 80 miles an hour. But here comes the law enforcement. Here comes the fire department. See, that's what you do. When people cry out, here you come. When people need you, you show up. When gunfire erupts like it did in Chicago and has in Chicago every night, you know what? Law enforcement shows up. You are the ones that run into fires. You're the ones that run into trouble. You're the one that runs into chaos. And I believe it's time that people speak up and say that we hear from this quiet majority out there, for people to start saying, you know what? We do support law enforcement. Do they need change? Oh yeah, we all need to change, and we need to fix some of the things that we're doing right now. We need to find a better way to police. We need to find a better way where we help these young officers who are coming out of rookie schools and coming out into the field. We need to find a way to train them to understand that they are truly the guardians of our community, that they truly are the voice of reason in our community. When we have a dispute, when we have a cat in a tree, when we have anything that goes wrong, we have a creature that crawls underneath our house, when we have a bat fly in our attic, when we have someone prowling around our community, who do you call? You call law enforcement. That's because we're needed. That's because the role in society, we bring order to chaos. And you know what? Yeah, these are difficult times. And these are times when people have literally turned on law enforcement, and some of them have turned their back, but not that silent majority. That silent majority really supports you. That silent majority not only supports you, but offers their love and their support. There's a big difference between just supporting, but they love you and they love the job that you do. This is a time that we need to stand together. Now, I'm a little bit disappointed in our national organizations, because we join these national organizations because they need to be advocates for us. And we don't need them when times are going good, and we don't need them when everything's going great. We need them when times are tough. And I've been a little bit disappointed in some of our national law enforcement organizations, because they haven't stepped up and offered that voice of support, offered that voice of hope, and offered that voice of encouragement. It seems like to me that only thing we're getting from our national leaders is standing back. They're standing back to see which way the winds may blow. They're standing back to see, because they're all afraid. But you know who can't afford to be afraid? You as a law enforcement officer, you cannot afford to be afraid. Can you have fear? Absolutely. And will you have fear? No doubt about it. But you can't. Our communities cannot survive by you being afraid. That means you do the things that you need to do no matter what happens. And you're the voice that we listen to, and you You take the actions. Now, sometimes those actions are something that fall under scrutiny, and rightfully so. I'm not here saying that these shootings and these cases are not don't have they have a great deal of credibility, and I believe that the justice system is serving its purpose right now, and we'll see what those verdicts lay out. And that's not up to me, that's for the justice system, but I got to trust in that justice system. Those things are awful. Those things are awful to watch when an officer takes the life of an individual. That officer doesn't want to take that life. That officer's responding to what they see. I've worked in law enforcement for over 40 plus years, and I have never known a police officer to literally ever say to me, or have ever heard a police officer say they're going to go out that night and do just disservice or be unjust to people in the community. I've never heard that. I know there's places across this country where law enforcement doesn't need to do the job. And you know what? We need to absolutely, without question, call action upon those departments and those officers and get rid of those officers out there that don't belong in this job, and take those officers and dismiss them from law enforcement. Yes, I'm all about that. But the ones that are doing this job, they need our support. They need our encouragement. They need our hope. And I believe this is a time like no other to stand strong. I believe this is a time for you to be more committed than you have ever been committed to law enforcement. Now, it's easy for me to say because I'm not out there every day fighting that battle like you are. But trust me, we got your back. The silent majority, or most of the people out there, believe that law enforcement are good people. We don't want to listen to those voices who are trying to distract us from the fact that without you, we are chaos. It's time for us to reconnect to the reason that you put that badge on in the first place. It's time for you to reconnect to what you're committed to. It's time for us in law enforcement to hear our communities. It's time for us in law enforcement to see our communities. And it's time for us in law enforcement to learn how to live and work and serve our communities. Now, this is a difficult time, but this is a time that we absolutely have to step our game up. Is it going to be hard? Absolutely. Are the days ahead going to be difficult? Without question. But I'm a firm believer in this, that inside of every cop is a better one. Now, what does that mean? That means that inside of every one of you, inside of all of us, there's a better one of us. And we got to connect to that. And we got to connect to what makes us great as a community and what makes us great as a society. Cops are uniters. They're not dividers. And what they literally do is allow us to go about life in a manner that we all feel free to do so. Now, do we have problems? There's no doubt about it. Do we have to change the way that we do some of our things? No doubt about it. Training is one of them. We've got to learn how to, and we've got to train cops and learn and teach cops how to be guardians, not so much. Now, a warrior, you look at a cop is out there doing a job every day, and we got to do a better job of supporting them. We got to provide better leadership. Our leaders have to step up. Some of our cops on the street right now feel paralyzed. They literally are not sure how to do their job, but they're not so much not how to do it, but should they do their job? They look at every call they go to. Will this be a call that literally will change my life and change the life of the people that I'm dealing with? That's an unfair standard for anyone. There's not a perfect standard of law enforcement. There's only a standard of law enforcement of caring and loving and supporting your community. We don't need to be perfect. We just need to do a better job and connect the inside of every cop. There's a better one. I don't want you to ever forget how special the job is that you do. I don't want you to ever forget how you literally are the thin blue line that separates chaos and order in our communities. I don't want you to ever forget how special the job that you do and how special you are, and how not everybody can put that uniform on. Not everybody's willing to sacrifice and know that when they walk out that door, might be the last time that they see their family. Most of you out there are committed to this profession because you got into it because you wanted to make a difference, and you are making a difference. So here at LHLN, we want to offer our support We want to offer our encouragement to you. And, we want to tell you that we love you and support you, and that over the coming days that we got your back and we understand that. And I want to remind you of 4 reasons why you should be the best that you should be, and 4 reasons why you need to continue pushing forward. 4 reasons why you need to be more dedicated. You need to be more committed to law enforcement, to your cause, and to your profession is. Number 1, it's the right thing to do. When you signed up and you took that oath, you said, I'll do it. Now, I know it's tough and I know it's difficult, but it's the right thing to do. The second reason is your family. Your family deserves it. They deserve you to be the best. They deserve you to go out there and support our communities and support them. They deserve it. They deserve someone to protect us with that thin blue line. And number 3, your communities got to have it. Your communities need you to be more dedicated, to be more committed, and to just absolutely do your job. They need you to do it. And the 4th reason, our great profession needs it. There's never been a time in law enforcement history that our great profession needs to join together, not just with ourselves, but with our communities, to find the solutions to those difficult, complex problems that we're dealing with, and to find a way forward for us to be able to serve the communities that we took the oath to do. Here at LHLN, Leaders Helping Leaders Network, and Dean Chris, me personally, I want you to know that I support you. We got your back, and we're going to do our best to let you know every single day how important you are and the job that you do for our communities. Until next time, folks, I'm Dean Crisp.